The humiliation piled on Devyani Khobragade has a nation outraged. But the anger is not limited to India's borders. Khobragade's arrest has flared a firestorm among Indians across the globe. In the United States, in United Kingdom, Singapore, Australia, the world over. And there's a clamour rising for the Prime Minister's intervention to pressure the United States President Barack Obama to ensure that Devyani Khobragade comes back home. And joining us from Australia is Chhabra, who's also the owner of The Indian, a prominent newspaper in Australia. Mr. Chhabra, thanks so much for joining us at this point. First of all, do you feel that New Delhi, that India has done enough in this case?
Yes, I do. I feel there has to be a very measured approach. Politics and emotions put together can cause a lot of damage. So I do feel India has to take it step by step. What the US has done towards Devyani is definitely uncalled for and goes beyond how an Indian diplomat should be treated.
What more do you think can be done? Because there's a clamour here that as far as the Prime Minister is concerned, he should intervene personally, and also it should not just be an apology by the United States, but at the same time, it should also be that all the charges against Devyani are dropped.
The situation here is that we do have, as per US law, at this point of time, Devyani has committed a crime as per US law. It's still at the moment not a convicted crime, it's at the moment the charges against her. But I do feel that diplomatic discussions between the two countries need to take place as soon as possible before the situation gets out of control. Because as this lingers on and extends, emotions will simply get more heated up and the situation will get worse with time.
Mr. Chhabra, also tell us, how is the Indian community in Australia looking at this case?
Look, as you know, we had a situation here in Australia a number of years ago with some Indian students. But the situation has since then calmed down. Australia is a true melting pot of multiculturalism and many different nationalities mixed together. The Indians here, of course, are seeing this case as a case of racism. They're reliving the memories of 4 years ago when they thought they were being targeted by the Australians here locally. So they're sort of reliving those memories again.
There's a lot being said, Mr. Chhabra, about the role of Preet Bharara, an American Indian who seems to be, specifically targeting Indians. Has that also been part of the debate that is happening in Australia?
No, to be honest with you, no, that has not been the case. The reporting here has been purely on the situation with Devyani and what she has gone through. Obviously, being a Western country and how it's reported here is an approach towards more to the American side of the situation, more to the Devyani side. Australia has very close relationships with the US and the government, so hence the reporting has been such a way that it's been swayed more towards the US side of the story more than India.
Okay, Ram Chhabra from Australia, thank you so much for joining us. Akshok Girdhari Das is a senior media personnel who's joining us from Singapore at this time. Akshok, thanks so much for joining us. Tell us at this point, how is the Indian community in Singapore looking at this case? And do they feel that New Delhi has done enough?
Well, a pleasure to be with you, Maruk. Personally, I wouldn't say it's anything particular with the Indian community in Singapore or anything per se. I think it generally there is a sense of discomfort and a little bit people are a little appalled at the way, with the arrest of what's happened with Devyani and that the manner in which she's been arrested. So there's definitely a sense of dissatisfaction that's creeping up all across the nation, as well as with the Indian diaspora overseas.
Does this give a sense of insecurity to Indians living there?
In the US?
No, in Singapore, largely what is the sense? Because a lot of Indians, the Indian diaspora that we have been speaking to says that if this could happen to a consul general, if this could happen to an Indian diplomat, then Indians, living in countries outside India also feel a sense of insecurity at a certain level.
Well, I think that depends on case-to-case basis and depends on a country-to-country basis. But yeah, coming to the premise of your question, yeah, it is rather shocking that it happened to someone who is a diplomat and that to in New York and with the United States, who is a key strategic partner and ally, and India and US, the bilateral ties go way back. So it is rather unfortunate, and yes, it does beg the question, but I don't particularly think that the Indian diaspora overseas in any country would particularly start feeling insecure just by a basis of an isolated incident.